This week, the Supreme Court ruled 6-2 in favor of upholding the state of Michigan's ban on affirmative action in college admissions. With 8 states now banning affirmative action, are more to come. Joining me now is Reilly, Supreme Court reporter for the Huffington Post. And Ryan, with a welcome, I'm curious, you think this ruling opens the way for other states to ban affirmative action, or were the specifics in this case unique to Michigan?
Well, I think it potentially could open the door, but it's really a matter of, this could be seen as an issue of majority rule, and potentially, groups that don't want that benefit from affirmative action will be sort of left out of the debate. But I don't know if we're going to see an immediate expansion based on just this decision, whether or not that's going to be something that's going to expand to other states immediately.
Anything in the written opinions about whether or not this case sets a precedent?
To a certain extent, but, they didn't really address the issue head on. And this obviously only affects public colleges. It's not going to affect sort of private universities if they want to have race be a factor here. But it was sort of unusual, I think, to see this back and forth between Justices Sotomayor and Justice Roberts on the issue, on this issue, with essentially Justice Sotomayor accusing her colleagues of sort of this having a colorblind policy and not taking into account the reality of the way things stand today.
Well, it's interesting. I'd love to get your thoughts on how testy that exchange got between Justice Sotomayor when she said we cannot wish away racial inequality, and then Justice Scalia countered with that, with something else. So, talk about that.
Yeah, I think that was definitely very strange. It's something that you don't commonly really see. And I mean, it got a little bit personal, I think, to a certain extent, especially with Sotomayor bringing in sort of her background and talking about how race has affected her, and saying that essentially she has benefited from affirmative action and obviously getting the opportunity to rise to the highest court in the land, and talking about how, that race does matter, essentially, is what she was saying, and that it's something that comes up in the lives of people every day when they're sort of, looked at it a certain way on the street. And, saying essentially that it was wrong for the court to say that voters would be able to ban race as being one of a variety of factors that admissions officials in colleges were considering. And what you might see, I think, potentially with some colleges is maybe a shift, at public universities, sort of a shift over to taking class as more of an issue, and, using that as sort of a substitute for race, and to a certain extent, because, if voters would, in fact, shift over to deciding not to essentially to ban racial discrimination, affirmative action, rather.
These justices ruling in favor of the ban, they stressed they weren't deciding on the merits of affirmative action, only the process by which it was banned. Do you think that really was the case?
Yeah, I think, the wider way they're sort of approaching this is that they're not, allowing, basically, race can be one of one factor that comes into this, unless a state goes ahead and puts a voter initiative to ban it directly.
Okay, Reilly from the Huffington Post. Thank you, Ryan.
Sure, thanks for having me.
And that's